Good morning, welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Celtic play Hibernian at Celtic Park this afternoon. Many people will be getting ready to leave on their buses in about the next 10-15 minutes. I definitely know that the 5 buses all leave just after 9 o'clock in the morning, so get through, get a few beers before the game today. Back to Celtic Park, exciting stuff. But Brendan Rodgers yesterday, we have done an early poll on the channel. And the early poll was, who would you start up front today? Brendan Rodgers spoke about the change of positions for play for one certain player, but who would you play up front? Because we need to start a little bit of rotation when it comes to the games coming thick and fast. We've got 3 games. This is us back to 3 games a week from now on. So who would you start up front today? Yamada, currently on 8%. Johnny Kenny's on 17%. Callum Osmond, he's on 0%. And Kelechi is on 76%. And it looks like that he's going to just be away out in front. 45 votes already. First thing, straight on the channel, 45 votes. Absolutely fantastic. So who would you start today? And tell me in the comments why. Brendan Rodgers has been speaking about the wingers situation at Celtic, and it is one that is it's fascinating to say the least, because there used to be a time that we had an abundance of wingers on each side, but when it comes to the right hand side, really all we've got is Yang and James Forrest. James Forrest, the only natural real winger with quality on the right hand side that is a natural right sided winger. On the press conference yesterday, Brendan Rodgers says that Dyson can play there without a doubt, and he may swap positions with Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing, changing Dyson to the right hand side? Because I mean, I think he's in a bit of a huff already, isn't he? The fact that he didn't get to leave the club in the summer transfer, and I don't like to go back to the summer transfer window, but it keeps on coming up. I mean, even yesterday at the press conference, I mean, we're at the end of September. You would think that we would start to let the transfer window sort of, the players that were brought in, just let them settle in. What, 5 punch runs at the back of 9? I'm getting the wrong bus, Baz. I know that the Rafferty bus leaves at the back of 9. I know the Glenoffice bus will leave at the back of 9. It's a 3 o'clock kick-off, so they usually get through there for 12. No, they'll not actually. They'll leave at 12 o'clock. Sorry, mate. I'm thinking it's an earlier kick-off. They'll leave at 12. Just saying. Kells is a pure natural striker, says Snowball. Kelechi up front. Build on his mark sharpness. Give Kenny a run out in the second half. Dyson's already raging. I think he is, isn't he? I mean, he's kind of spat the dummy out. I mean, Brendan Rodgers can cover it up and say, look, Brendan Rodgers' exact words yesterday was the fact that I was probably thinking about on the boat over from Belfast now, Mark was on one of the early pickups. Dyson's had a bit of a knock on his ankle. I'm going to say this. I've said it before. Players, Rio Hatate with a little bit of tightness on his hamstring. Dyson Maeda, little bit of soreness on his ankle. I mean, it's maybe just me, but I'm thinking, do you know what? The player, I mean, Dyson, he's not been trying 110, and how Rio got a tightness on his hamstring would be a complete surprise. Dave Roberts has come straight in and says, start Sinisalo from now on. I think Brendan Rodgers will only start Sinisalo in the cup games, the domestic cup games. I think he will want to keep the momentum going with the keeper. He's not a big fan of changing goalkeepers when it comes to the league position, and he'll use the cup games for Sinisalo to get his run of games and build his confidence up for next year. The Irish is choppy today, says Mark. What bus are you on, Mark? Or whose bus are you on? But anyway, let's go back to the poll and see what that's doing this morning, because we're up at 70 odd votes already. Callum Osmond doesn't have a single vote, but Callum Osmond is a player that will need game time. I mean, what is really going on with Callum? He was brought into the first team. He is in the first team squad, but he gets put down into B team games now and again just to give him game time. I mean, I think that he is just B team quality, but when you look at the strikers that we do have, you've got Johnny Kenny, you've got Shin Yamada, and then Kelechi. Do we run with Kelechi just to give him the game time, give him 60 minutes or so, and then bring on Johnny Kenny or Shin Yamada? Will Shin Yamada even make the bench today? It's going to be an interesting one, because I think there's going to be obviously a few changes. Brendan Rodgers is toying with the idea of putting Dyson on the same side as James Forrest, just to allow the superstar in the making, Sebastian Tenecte, and I think he is a superstar in the making. He will be one. We'll be lucky if he performs the way that he's been performing already. We'll be lucky to keep a hold of him within the next year. Has he been scoring in B team games? I'm not too sure. You're on the Arthur McKenna bus. That's a cracking bus, mate. Say hi to Sean to me this morning. No, Sean's not on that bus, is he? Ah, he is. Sean Houston. Is that the bus he runs? Sure, that's the bus Sean Houston runs. Anyway, say hi to him this morning. Kelechi will start. He's the man to start, and then bring on young Johnny Kenny. Yeah, a lot of people seem to be going down the Kelechi just to get him. It doesn't really. I mean, Brendan Rodgers says that he's one of the fittest and leanest, body fat wise, in the team. That's a lot, considering. You would think, when you think back to Bruni and how fit he was, it's a bit of a. Let's not have any negativity this morning about any players whatsoever. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers talking about I think Dyson needs a game or two on the bench. Yeah. Perfect, Monty. Cheers. Sean's one of the good guys. I mean, Sean's been going to the football since the early 80s. Maybe even before that, when he was a young kid. But as Dyson needs a game or two on the bench, the man is an empty shirt. Is it an empty shirt, or is it motivation? Brendan Rodgers alluded to the fact that, look, his head wasn't there. He was obviously wanting a move away. It didn't happen. And there's been other things on in the background, and he said it's a mentality thing with Dyson. Osman scored the other day for the B team. Michelle says, if he keeps going the way we're on, he'll not be here long. The board will smell and test a mile away. Yes, it's true. Talking about Tenecte. It's going to be interesting. I'm not even going to make a team prediction today. I'm going to wait till the team does come out this afternoon, and then we'll talk about it an hour and a half before the game. It's going to be an interesting warm-up to the game today, and it'll be interesting to see who he starts on either wings, because he could bring James Forrest in just to give James Forrest some game time. But do you play Dyson on that right-hand side? Brendan says he can play it, but I think it would maybe be a step too far, because he's always played on the other side. You know, Brendan Rodgers said it's a possibility for sure. Where he's played most of his career has been on the left-hand side or through the middle, but naturally on the sides is where he's at his best. I wouldn't rule it out. It was an area I wanted reinforced. We weren't able to do that. We'll have to try and manage and juggle the balance of the team. Getting a draw in the first European game during the week, and then having a home game in Europa this week, Brendan Rodgers will surely make at least 2 or 3 changes in the team today. Does he rest Cameron Carter-Vickers? That's another one that we need to think about. And would you bring on Dane Murray? I mean, I'm thinking that Dane Murray, bringing on Dane Murray could be a good idea, just to rest Cameron Carter-Vickers before the game. American sitcom Benson. Just reading some of these comments. Yeah, Lanky's saying that he doesn't think that Dyson or Rio will play. I don't think so. I think that you'll see the... not many managers said that about my body fat when I played. No, because Monty, they said, where's your body? Well, I could see his fat. Joking, big man. Is the team looking down today? Like I said, I don't think that Brendan will play Rio or Dyson. I think that the two of them will get dropped. Who do you bring in the midfield for Rio Hitati? That's the big question as well, because we've got certain players that, if I'm going to be honest, I would go... If I was going to take Rio Hitati out of the game, I'd bring on Luke McCowan for today. Never mind Arne Engels or Paulo Bernardo. And people always say that's a mad thing to do. But I think that Luke McCowan gives you just that little bit more. I mean, he's not the most talented when it comes to sort of top, but he gives you fight. Do you know, he's got goals in him. I think that from outfield play and not set pieces, I think right now Luke McCowan is, out of Paulo Bernardo, Arne Engels and Luke McCowan, I think that Luke McCowan's the one that's more than likely to give you a goal from the midfield area. Even more than Callum McGregor, even more than Rio Hitati, even more than Benji. As good as Benji's been, there's something about Luke McCowan just now. I think that this could be the season where you go, do you know what? He needs to be playing more. Every time he comes on, he's got a chance of scoring. I just think that his game to goal ratio this season could... I think that, I'm going to say it right now, I think Luke McCowan could score between 7 and 10 goals this season and not starting. I'm just... Lanky says he reckons the team will be Casper, Donovan, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Scales, KT. Now there's one we need to talk about, because even though he played his first full game, and is Kieran Tierney, let's be honest, he seems to have lost something since I don't know if he's lost something that he lost it at Arsenal due to the amount of times he was injured. But he's not the player that he was when he left Celtic years ago. Is it because that Brendan Rodgers is trying to change him positional wise and get him to come into that inverted full-back position? Or I just don't know. There's something about Kieran Tierney that's just... I mean, he's been playing for 2 months now. He's had a full pre-season. He's had all these things that Brendan Rodgers talks about, is to make sure that a player, he shouldn't, do you know, he should have been just like fitting back into an old glove. It's like getting on the bike again just after coming off a crash. He should have been up, to me, I think that he should have been up to speed by now. Is there something in the background that Celtic aren't telling us about Kieran Tierney? And maybe that's why he's not up to 100% yet. Anyway, Forrest, Kelechi and Tenecte up front. Callum, McCowan and Benji. Yeah, that's the kind of midfield that I would go for, Lanky. Luke gives the ball away too much for my liking. But I would start him today, says my ball. Mo, when did that one go out? I'll need to watch that if I've got time. Need to be on our toes today. Hibs always give us a good game. Yet they do that. Jim Straka says, hi, can I just say a big thank you to the Celtic Foundation for giving me tickets for today's game for my guys. I do it myself, so money's always tight, but thank you so much. That's a good one. Dyson's got one of those employment contracts we all get that includes at the bottom any other tasks required. Any other tasks required. Kaiser's in the house. Where is that? Oh, that's cool. Monty says we've got to remember that this version of KT will not be exactly like the previous one. He's still a class act. Yeah, he's still a class act, but I think there's something missing from his game. It doesn't seem to be. He's definitely not as fast, and he's only 27, 28, so he should be coming into the peak of his career. The physically, he should be in the peak condition of his life. He's heading into that period, your sort of late 20s, where you're getting right up there, morning Kaiser, you're getting right up there physically. Do you know what I mean? One of the fittest periods of my life was in my 30s. I was fitter than I ever was, and it kind of, you build that up, and maybe there's something just in the background that's maybe holding them back. Maybe it's a mentality thing. I don't know. Keep winning, Celtic. The prize is very close to the Flushing South. Go back down the bog again. I'm a bit confused about the silent protest. Just missed that. Yeah, that's an interesting one with KT. But anyway, the poll, who would you start today? He's got 125 votes now. Young Callum Osman's only got 1%. Coming in third place is Yamada on 6%. Johnny Kenny on 12%. And Kelechi's away up there. Would you play Kelechi the full game? Because we need to try and get other players. I don't think Kelechi will play the full game today, because you've got one mind on the one eye on the game. I know that Brendan Rodgers says, look, it's all about the game today, but he'll be mindful of game time and game time for other players as well. You know, he did say that, for instance, he doesn't want to burn out young Colby Donovan. So I think that young Donovan will take a step backwards today, and I think that Tony Ralston will come in, because he spoke yesterday about Donovan playing in the two international youth games. He then spoke about him playing a consistent run of games for Celtic, and he's went up that level playing for Celtic as well. So he says that, you know, we need to be mindful of that. KT has psychological... where did that one go? Greg Taylor was a lot better than KT. I say this with the chest under fans like KT as one of his own. Take the green tinted spectacles off. KT looks like he has a lack of confidence in his body. Yeah, and I think it is something like that. I'm not too sure. Kaiser says that KT has psychological scars from the injuries that he has suffered. Yes, there's a minute I put up. There's a minute applause on the 15th minute. That I know that the Hibs fans are definitely taking part in it. I don't know how many Celtic fans will take part in it. I did put the video up, and I hope that as many of the Celtic fans at the game today. I mean, a young lassie, 15-year-old, big Celtic fan, had jot all over her bedroom, and it was and to make it worse, not only has he lost his daughter, he lost his wife a few years ago. So to have him lost his wife and his daughter over the space of a few years is I can't even begin to think about what he's going through. But yes, hopefully there will be a minute applause on the 15th minute. Will the Celtic fans take part in it? But they've got their own thing going on for 12 minutes of the game. They might be not even thinking about it. You know, I don't think that any of the big two groups have said that they would do it or anything. I don't know. But hopefully, Monty, there will be, and hopefully there's been enough to. Hopefully the Hibs fans are going to put up I know that the Hibs fans are taking part, so we'll just wait and see what happens. But anyway, Flying Column was away last week. Haven't seen last week's videos yet. Did Alistair Johnson receive good news on his return? It was an interesting interview with Alistair Johnson. he was asked the question, would you ever think about leaving Celtic at any point? And he did speak about, look, it's always, every player wants to play at the highest level possible. And I've been lucky at Celtic to play against some really good teams at a very high level. He was then asked about staying at Celtic for the rest of his career. He was asked about staying at Celtic for the rest of his career. And he said, look, it would be fantastic if I was given the opportunity to stay at a club like Celtic for the rest of my career, because it means I'm doing something right. But then he did say this one thing. He said that he knows his own downfall as a player. And this is all players. He says that when he gets too comfortable, we can sometimes take his eye off the ball, and then his form dips a bit. But then I said at that point, I was like, I don't think he's seen Colby Donovan playing on the pitch yet, because if he needs a rocket up his arse, he's going to need to make sure that he's better than Colby Donovan. Anyway, we move on for that. He's talking about Kieran Tierney. He's certainly not worth 50 grand a week on a 5-year contract. For somebody on that kind of money, you would be expecting. I mean, this is it's a very Celtic problem, isn't it? It's you pay someone 50 grand a week on just upwards of close to 50 grand a week. You're expecting them to be a standout. And as yet, Kieran Tierney hasn't been that standout. And maybe it'll come. Let me just jump through this. Monty. Oh, yeah, so sad. Monastic Mick. Stay strong, Alan. And, yeah. The AJ was asked about the Canadian players across the city. Are they friends? I was surprised that, yeah, it was that. But anyway, we move on because what time are we on? 22 minutes. That's fine. A lot of people obviously talking about Kelechi. We've done a poll asking who would you start up front today. Brendan Rodgers talking about changing formation slightly. And do you know what was interesting as well? He was talking about Kelechi and his time at Leicester, and he spoke about using Kelechi as part of a two up front. Will Brendan Rodgers change the formation of Celtic to play two strikers up front? Will he change to a 3-5-2, or will he keep the same formation and try and bring in? I mean, there's a thought. If we're short on wingers on one side, you change the formation of the midfield so that it pushes a midfield player further out, but you bring more players in and then you put two up front. I wonder if Brendan Rodgers is toying with the idea of playing Kelechi and someone else up front, because he did say that he did it at Leicester and it worked well for him and Kelechi at Leicester, playing as part of a two up front. That'll be an interesting one over the next couple of weeks, because I think that we need to change formation. I think we're all agreed we need to change formation sometimes in the league, because, you know, it's going to be, Hibs will sit back, but they'll try and hit us on the break. Big Des says it's a sad day when Celtic are struggling to find a dedicated right winger. Yeah, I know. Jim F says we'll go for 3-5-2. It's not really Brendan's style to go 3-5-2. Johnson said the grass isn't greener. Just ask Taylor. He hasn't kicked a ball. Yeah, that was one of the good things that Alistair Johnson did say in his interview, talking about, you know, players leaving Celtic, and he's now seen it at his time. Do you know, he would have looked at a certain striker leaving and going to Rennes for big money and thinking that he's going to move to a top 5 league, because that's what the player come out and said, and it didn't work out for him, and now he's in the lower leagues, a lower league in England. when you look at Alistair Johnston wants to play at the highest level all the time. And he said, look, the grass isn't greener when you leave Celtic sometimes. Des will sign out in January. Let's not even talk about transfers. Brendan Rodgers has obviously said yesterday, he was asked about transfer window, the next window. There's too much football to play just now to even let the backroom staff at Celtic, and there's too much going on at Celtic for us to even think about it. If you're playing two up front, it would mean a diamond shape. Babusha can play as a number 10. Interesting. Baz, what did you make of O's performance and why was he so fat at Celtic? I don't know, I didn't watch the game, mate, so I've no idea what his performance was like. To be honest, I didn't watch the game with him the other night. I put it on for 5 minutes and I switched it back off again. Went away to my bed, to be honest. Not a chance Brendan Rodgers has changed his 4-3-3. I have no idea what you're on about, Chris. I want the old Jota back for Christmas. I think that it's going to be... I've got a funny feeling that you're not going to see Jota back until around about February, March. Mike Powers is in, coming in for the US of A. Morning to you, Mike. You're up super early this morning. Brendan used to play 4-2-3-1 when he was with us the last time. Yeah, and I don't know why we're not playing that system just now. I think that it's a system that we need to... I mean, I thought when we played it during pre-season, I thought, it was a good looking future we had. But then he's reverted back to the 4-3-3. Apart from scoring, he's a tool. Oh, Jesus. Right, I will be back on around about an hour and a half as usual before the game today to get the warm-up for the team that Brendan Rodgers puts out. It's going to be an interesting one. There's going to be a few changes in the team today. I wonder if we make any changes at the back line. There's definitely going to be changes on the wing. There's going to be changes in midfield. But will there be any changes up front? So we did a poll vote. Who would you start up front today? Callum Osman's on 1% of the live vote. Yamada's on 7%. Johnny Kenny's on 13%. And Kalechi's on 79%. And I think we're just going to end that vote now. So that will come up on the chat. Surely it's possible to have two formations. You would think that a good manager would have a number of formations that they could change. I mean, they do. Brendan Rodgers does change it. But I get what you're saying, Monty. I think that some managers stick to their formations because they think it's trendy or whatever. They think it suits the team, it suits the way that they want to play. But Brendan Rodgers is a manager that's stuck in his ways. When you look at the likes of the criticism that comes from Martin O'Neill when he says modern football was just nonsense. Just go good fashion 3-5-2 and attack teams rather than this side-to-side tapping bullshit. Anyway, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are all around the world, and I'll see you in just a couple of hours.